I'm Davy. I'm awesome. And welcome to Davy's Awesome Stories, where I tell funny stories from my past or go on a rant in an effort to make you laugh. So a couple weeks ago, I was talking about one of my very first roommates and how he had an annoying habit of calling us for the dumbest things. And my brother, who didn't know him very well, knew him a little bit, against his will, suggested I tell this story. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. But of course, I've got to give you some backstory. I got to tell you the full experience. I was 19 years old. This was my first place outside my parents' house. I was renting a room out of this guy's home. This was one way he made his money. He had 2 extra rooms. He rented them both out, so I had another roommate. And he also got disability and Social Security benefits. What made me agree to live with this guy, besides the fact that I knew him a little bit, was that it was a place I could afford. It was a room in his house, so utilities were included for $250 a month. Back when I was 19, that was still a good deal, but not great. I did have a lot of people asking me, like, why are you paying that much for just a room? And then I would point out to them, to get a real apartment, the lowest I'm going to get is $300, and I can afford that right now. I'm a pizza delivery guy, which they would understand. But $250 for a room, utilities and stuff included, wasn't a bad deal, but not as fantastic as it would sound like now. Now, if you could find that, you'd be like, yeah, we're moving the entire family into that one room. When I moved in and he was telling me all the stuff that my rent included, utilities, the phone, the washer and dryer, he pointed out the only thing it doesn't cover is food. But mentioned, but Paul was the other guy who rented a room at his house. Gives me an extra $50 a month, and when I go grocery shopping, I just pick up whatever he asks for. If you didn't watch any of the videos about this roommate, this whole thing I'll explain. We don't know why he did that. Even he didn't know why he did that. Just imaginary little puppet show as he was talking. He did that all the time he was talking, even if you couldn't see him. But now, as far as giving $50 a month for groceries, that was a good deal for Paul. One, he was a graveyarder, so he wasn't up during the day to go shopping, because we didn't have any 24-hour stores around us. And 2, he didn't drive. Probably still doesn't drive. He never wanted to drive. He rode a bike wherever he went. So to give him $50 and just include that as his groceries, that was a good deal for him. For me, not so much. I had a car. Not to mention I was a young guy, worked at a pizza place. At the time, I did not cook. Now I do. But I didn't spend that much money on groceries. So I was just like, yeah, that's fine. I'll get my own groceries. But thank you. I also wanted it to be that way just because I didn't want any confusion of me eating this that I wasn't supposed to, you eating that I wasn't supposed to. This way, this is my stuff, this is your stuff. Just don't eat my stuff and I won't eat your stuff. And that's just how it became. Even though for the first few months, every month, the guy whose room I was renting, we'll call him Danny, would go, are you sure you don't want to do the $50 a month? I'm just trying to make it easier on you. No, I'm good. We'll just do the rent. And as time was going on, when I first moved in, I didn't know Paul at all, but I started getting to know the guy. He was a really good guy. We became really good friends. I'd still say on some level we're friends, although we have lost touch. I don't have him on Facebook or anything, and it does not surprise me that he never got a Facebook. But I guarantee you, if I saw him today, we'd probably both be like, whoa, it's you, and give each other a hug and catch up on each other's lives. Like you said, he was a really good guy. But around the time we're starting to get to know each other, he comes up to me and he's like, hey, I'm cooking tonight. I'm making mushroom burgers, and just wondering if you want one. Yeah, sure. Sounds good. Now, first thing about Paul loved to cook. That was actually his job. He was a cook. We had a couple little casinos in this little town, and he worked at one of the restaurants as the overnight cook guy, but he was also a really good cook. Because when I say he was making mushroom burgers, I assumed the same thing that most of you are, is that he was just making hamburgers with mushrooms. No. When this guy made a mushroom burger, it wasn't a hamburger, because even he will admit that this is one weird thing about him. He doesn't like bread. Like when we'd go out and he'd want a burger, he'd deal with the bun, but there would always be some bread left that he would just toss away. And this was before the whole protein burger. I'm wondering if when that came out, he was just like, hallelujah, thank you. But no, his mushroom burger was this big, thick burger patty that he would broil until it was cooked enough, then sear in a pan so it got that nice little crisp on the end. And then he would top it with this homemade mushroom gravy thing, and of course mushrooms all over it, smothering it. You ate it with a knife and fork. Not to mention whatever else he put in this. I never thought to ask, and I wish I would have, because these were freaking delicious. They were one of the best things I've ever had, and I miss them. Paul, if you're watching, you Make me a mushroom burger. But because of that, he made us each one. He made one for himself, one for me, one for Denny, one for Denny's mom who was there. And of course, his favorite part about cooking for people was enjoying the compliments afterwards, which we all were. Because again, they were just amazing. They were delicious. And again, anytime this guy cooked, it was delicious. This guy is the reason that I cook now. Because at some point, of course, I'm living on my own. I'm eating mostly takeout or microwave stuff. I get to a point like, I want some home-cooked stuff. He teaches me how to do that. This guy, I was a roommate with his for 4 years. And in that 4 years, he taught me a lot of cooking. Nowadays, I cook a lot, and my wife is very happy. But of course, during this first encounter of Paul's cooking, enjoying it, Denny has to throw out, do you think you might ever want to try my cooking? Yeah, sure. If you ever want to make dinner, go for it. I'd return the favor, but I don't really cook. All I really know how to make are scrambled eggs. Which, best cooking advice I ever got from Paul, when he did start teaching me how to cook, he asked me, are there 4 things you know how to make? And I thought about it, and there were 4 things I knew how to make. Eggs, baked chicken, spaghetti, and boxed macaroni and cheese. He said, okay, take those 4 things, make them so often that you can make them without even thinking about it, then start playing with it, which I have. My spaghetti that I used to make used to just be like you would think, cook noodles, take some store-bought sauce, heat it up, pour it on the noodles. Now I do a lot of things with it. Sometimes I use store-bought sauce, sometimes I'm feeling fancy, I make my own, and it's not just sauce. Started out with, of course, putting beef in it. Now I don't put beef. If I put meat at all, it's ground sausage. Not to mention I put other seasonings and stuff in there. Usually put a pinch of brown sugar to help with the acidity. But like I said, most times I don't even put meat unless it's ground sausage or meatballs. Most times it's something like chopped up eggplant or mushrooms, and it's delicious. But back to the story. I said, sure, Danny, I wouldn't mind trying your cooking if you're offering. So, a few days later, I went to work, got off, went to hang out with my friends, came home, everybody's asleep, and there's a note on the counter that says, hey, Davy, there's meatloaf in the fridge for you. Which at first I was like, yeah, sweet. If you've been watching this channel, I've mentioned before, I love meatloaf. That's one of my favorite things. I think I mentioned it to him that day, and that's probably what inspired him to make meatloaf for me. So I went into the fridge. There's a baking sheet with some meatloaf left in it, more than just a serving for me. And I say, okay, and I grab it, and I'm about to cut myself a piece when I realize something. Something that he liked to put in his meatloaf mixed in was green peppers. Now to some of you that sounds delicious. I hate green peppers. I don't like them at all. I don't like green peppers. I don't like red peppers. I don't like bell peppers at all. I know some of you, they're absolutely delicious. My wife is that way. My wife, she sometimes, not because she's on any kind of diet or something, just what she likes, is to get a green pepper, slice it in half, take out the filling, and use that as the bread in a sandwich. But I don't like green peppers. And I see that there's green peppers all mixed in it, so I'm just like, no thank you. And I went and microwaved a couple little frozen burritos and went to bed. Next day I get up, and Denny is very disappointed. Doesn't look like you had any of my meatloaf. I made it because you said you like meatloaf. I do. I love meatloaf, but I don't like green peppers. That's not true. I've seen you eat peppers. I even remember you putting some on a sandwich. Those were banana peppers. I like those kind of peppers. Banana peppers, pepperoncinis, jalapenos even. I like spicy peppers, but green peppers, red peppers, those little yellow ones, I don't like those. I absolutely hate them. They're one of the worst things in the world to me. Oh, I really like meatloaf with green peppers, but if you want, I'll leave them out next time. No, that's not necessary. If that's how you like your meatloaf, make your meatloaf, dude. I just don't like bell peppers. Oh well, I guess that's fine. As if I broke his heart by not eating that meatloaf. He even made me feel a little bit bad at first. And I will say, there's another little weird story from this. A little while later, Paul is teaching me to cook. I'm taking some of his methods. He's teaching me a better way to make spaghetti. I'm still using the glass jar as sauce, but he had suggested things I could put in the sauce, make it better. One of them being garlic. And of course he was like, you like garlic, right? I said, of course, I love garlic. I could eat garlic with anything. And then he throws this out. That's a little weird that you like garlic, but you don't like green peppers. I even looked over at Paul, and his response was the same. Why is that weird? Green peppers and garlic are two extremely different things. I'm just saying, it's weird. It's not, though. They don't taste the same at all. Garlic tastes like garlic. Green peppers taste like abomination. But getting serious, even if you like green peppers, like my wife loves green peppers, I told you that. Even she, when she heard this story, got a confused look on her face because two extremely different things. That's like saying it's weird that I like ice cream, but I don't like getting punched in the face. After I made spaghetti, which I made enough for everybody because I wanted people to try my new cooking skills, which they liked it. I don't think they were loving it, but they liked it. Had a little meat in it. It had some garlic, had some oregano and stuff. About a week later, I come home, and again, there is a note. Hey, Davy, I know you like spaghetti, so I made some. It's in a bowl in the fridge for you. To which I see the note, and I'm just like, okay, sure, I'm hungry. Whatever. I go in, I grab the bowl, and the first thing about it that strikes me is in the spaghetti mixed in is corn. Now, don't get me wrong, I like corn just fine. Corn's good. But in spaghetti? But I was like, you know what? That's his thing. Let me try it. I can handle corn. At least it's not green peppers. I heat it up. I take a couple of bites. And this spaghetti was awful. This was the worst spaghetti I had ever tasted. I even remember eating it and thinking, what kind of sauce is he using? Like, it tastes like ketchup. And that's the thing, is it wasn't ketchup, clearly. It wasn't the same consistency as ketchup. It clearly was spaghetti sauce, but it tasted like ketchup. And then the corn mixed in. So I couldn't eat more than a few bites just because of how bad it was. So I ate a couple bites, and I threw the rest away. And the next day, of course, I wake up to a very childish, sad 46-year-old. I noticed you threw out my spaghetti. I'm sorry, man. I'm not trying to be mean. But I really didn't like it. Paul didn't like it either. He said the same thing, that it tasted funny, and that corn doesn't go with spaghetti. I gotta agree with him, dude. It did taste funny, and no, corn doesn't really go into spaghetti well. I've tried spaghetti with eggplants, with mushrooms, had people throw in extra, like, fresh tomatoes. That kind of stuff works, but corn didn't really work. So, time goes by. He made a couple of other things. Like, one time he made chicken. I ate it, even though it wasn't that good, and then threw up. Then there was another time he made chicken again. I didn't eat all of it. It was chicken that he breaded, like as if you were going to fry it. Then he put it in the oven, slathered in barbecue sauce. I took a couple bites and was like, dude, I'm sorry, I can't. This is disgusting. Because basically what that did to the breading of the chicken made it taste like chicken covered in barbecue mush. And then I threw up. Never ate his chicken again. Twice was enough. Anytime he offered chicken, I didn't eat it again. But then there was the day that it came. That he was like, I'm going to make something safe, something Davy will eat. Even though I didn't understand why he was so intent on getting me to eat what he cooked. I honestly just chalked it up to how childish he was. Because he was very, very much a child. Wouldn't even go as far as saying, like, man-child, because that's just kind of like you're an adult who's into some childish things. No, child. But he had announced that he was going to make spaghetti, and he promised he was not going to put corn in it. So Paul and I talked about it. We decided we were going to be his friends, be mature, and just go eat his spaghetti. So we sat down. We each got ourselves a plate with some noodles, poured some sauce over it, and it was basically clear that he made spaghetti the way that I used to make spaghetti, which was he cooked the noodles and then heated up a jar of sauce, and that was it. But whatever, it was okay, it was edible. Until he was like, it's missing something. Oh yeah, hold on. And to my utter horror, he gets up. He goes to the fridge. He pulls out some ketchup. He squirts it all over his spaghetti that already had sauce on it. And mixes it in. And as if this was normal, looks at the two of us and holds it out as if one of us is going to go, yeah, I'll take it. But we just sit there staring at him until he's like, you guys want any ketchup? Why would I put ketchup in my spaghetti? I always mix ketchup in my spaghetti sauce. That and corn. So that weird taste in your spaghetti was ketchup? I was wondering what that weird flavor was too. Ketchup? A lot of people like ketchup in their spaghetti. All these years later, the only person I've ever heard of that likes ketchup in their spaghetti is Honey Boo Boo. But even then, it's not ketchup in the sauce. It's just ketchup on noodles. Which is still gross, but... You're gonna mix that into the Prego? What is wrong with you? Both Paul and I declined. Just ate our plain, bland spaghetti. Went about our business. And then, a couple days later, I figured out why he was so desperate to get me to eat some of his cooking. When he went, "Hey, so, I just figured since you've eaten some of my food, that it's only fair that you start doing the $50 a month thing too." Yes, these months and months of him desperately trying to get me to eat his food was to make a case that I should just give him an extra $50 a month. Which I very angrily told him that's not happening. I didn't ask for any of this food. You basically pushed it on me. Don't worry, I will not eat your cooking again. And found out later that Paul didn't want to do it anymore either because he'd give him the $50 a month for food, give him a slight list of what he wanted, and never get anything he wanted. So there you have it. That's my story of it this week. I hope you guys enjoyed it. And if you did, make sure to hit like, hit subscribe, hit the little bell so you get notifications for when I post the videos, and leave a comment. Tell me about the worst spaghetti you've ever eaten. Love you guys.